it's Stacy. Um, first off, I want to thank all my new subscribers, and if you're coming back to see me, thank you. Um, let's see how many times I can say throughout this video. I have a channeling coming in, and it's been coming in all morning, and this is going to be the first time that I record myself as I'm getting a bunch of downloads to try to explain some things. This is not going to resonate with everybody unless you know this journey. It's not going to resonate with you. You're going to think that it is crazy. And then maybe it might spark something in you, and something I say is meant to awaken someone out there listening, because this channeling is coming in strong. And when I get downloads and channels, I get very anxious because it's a lot of energy and it's a lot of information coming in at one time. So it also, it makes my heart race really fast, and that's how I know that it's important and that it's time. So I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. Like I said, it's the first time I'm recording myself doing this, so here goes. So basically, what has been coming through for me is, hold on, I need to post it. As I was thinking about light workers and how to explain that better to you guys in a level of consciousness that I hope each to reach where you are, no matter where that is. So I've had to be very vague, and I can't really express the light language that I actually get as well when I don't know where your consciousness level of understanding will be. So I'm just going to explain the story of how I discovered who I was and what I was meant to do in this world. So if you can bear with me, I'm going to do my best to make this all come through and put out in my words as correctly as possible, or to the best of my ability. I'm not saying I don't have things still to learn. I'm not saying that my truth is everyone's truth. I am saying this is my truth on how I found out who I was and what my soul purpose was. So, okay. So I wanted to start out reading a definition because I like to see what random people can put into Google and what it says and the way that I see it, and how much of it resonates and how it's surface or if it goes deep or anyway. So I want to read what it says about light workers. Light workers, also known as starseeds, earth angels, and indigos, are spiritual beings in human existence sent here to heal. Our most vital contributions to this planet Earth is its inhabitants take place in the mental and spiritual planes. So that's one definition, and I had asked what Google thought Lightworker Starseed was. Actually, Liren, I was asking Liren also questions, but we'll get there. So, and that was a definition that I got. And that's true. Like, on this journey, some people will resonate with being a light worker. Some people will resonate as it being called a starseed. Some people are just earth angels. That's what they resonate with. The fairies, the mystical things that you have to look beyond this reality to see. So with all that being said, okay, I'm going to explain to you the awakening of me. How I knew that I was different. So all my life, from the time that I can remember, I could see angels and they would talk to me. Like, I could talk to God and I could see things that, like, I remember being young and trying to explain to people that I knew how the world worked, that none of this was real, and that everything was gonna, that everything really is, it's like blackness, that it isn't real. And I couldn't express it with my words because I wasn't intelligent enough at that age to be able to really understand the knowledge that I was shown by God, or how I could express that I knew that none of this was real, that the reality that I was born into wasn't real, that there was more than that. So as I got older, and I had tried to explain it a couple times, and I would get so frustrated with myself because it just didn't come out the way that I knew it in my head. So I stopped talking about that, and I went through the teenage stuff, and throughout my teenage years, as I was going to church a lot, and I went to church because I was pulled there. Like, it was a part of my soul, and it wasn't what anybody was saying. It was the way I felt, feeling like I was in the presence of God. And I did that. And I got miracles all the time. I would talk to God. I thought everybody could do that. Like, I really thought that everybody could see the things that I saw because that was my reality. So how would I know it was any different when I was a child? Um, until as I got older, I realized that that wasn't everyone's reality. Like, I could look at someone all growing up and they could be really mean to me, really mean to me. And what I would see was their soul and their pain. So I couldn't get mad at them. I couldn't want to hurt them any more than I knew that they were already hurting and the things that were going on in their life. And I could see this and see the realities. I knew exactly how things were going to play out in people's life at a very young age. And I couldn't explain that to others, especially 20 years ago, 24, 5 years ago. None of that stuff was even, you didn't talk about those kind of things. As I got older, I went through the Great Banquet. And it was 4 days that I got to spend to myself with God, just me and God. I got to leave everything at home, and it was so amazing, life-changingly amazing for me. You have to remember, my God was someone who harmed no one. My God was someone who didn't judge, wasn't going to send anyone to hell. So that's the God that I knew from a little girl. That's who he showed me he really was. So I had a bunch of miracles happen. I had an angel show up once in the middle of a rainstorm. Um, here we go. A lot of things that I had manifested, that I had asked for, that came true because I believed and I had that connection with God. Because I had went through so much as a child, the only way to save me, to become who I am now, was for God to show me he was real. It was something I never questioned. And when I could look at somebody all growing up and see the pain in them, the pain in their souls, the reason they were here, their past lives, and I could see these things about them, even though in this 3D reality, they were mistreating me, I just continued to let them because I could see the pain and the outcome. So as doing this, and I started getting very frustrated with myself, like, why? Why, no matter what they do to me, I'm still nice to them? Or I don't want to hurt them the way that they hurt me. So I did some research. into myself. And I went a little deeper. And I learned more of my gifts. Inside me, every wound I healed. And every time I did that, a new gift was revealed to me about who I was. And I started building on those building blocks. I started waking up after knowing as a child that none of this reality was real and not being able to explain it, but I still knew it in my soul. As I grew up and I started taking all the knowledge and figuring out who I was, that I was an empath. And that was very acceptable at that time. Like empaths, there was books about it, and I knew that's who I was. I knew that the reasons I could never be mean to people, the reasons that I could want to save people who were trying to destroy me was because that's who I was. And I couldn't fight against that because every time I fought against that, nothing good ever came of that. So around 2012, I believe, 2012, 2013, I started seeing outside the matrix. Like I started being able to like consciously see the government and the deep state in this world and everything for the fuckery fakeness that it is. And I don't know how to, it was like dominoes. It just, once it started, it just all connected and I could automatically see it. So it was like, wow, we really are like in a, being watched like ants. But it goes deeper than that. So once I started seeing the government collapse and seeing outside the matrix very clearly, that I had to stop watching news, and I never liked watching the news anyway, ever. That was just not one of my things that I wanted to do. I could feel that energy, and so I try to stay away from it. But I watched how everything worked and how it was to keep us suppressed and in oppression as a collective, as a human race. So I woke up to that really quickly, and it was like I had always known it. It just came in and it made sense, and that became my reality. So then I started watching Ancient Aliens, right? And I would watch Ancient Aliens, and I remembered those places. Like I could literally, I knew that I stood in front of the pyramids. Like I could see myself doing it. I knew that part of my soul had been a part of that. And I only had to watch a couple episodes and I automatically could see it all. Like I could see how it all happened and that the things that were covered up, they were seeing spaceships and everything in the 50s, 60s, and then all of a sudden we didn't see them as much. And then there was some abductions and they're all documented, but we started getting chemtrails, which covers up a shield to keep us to see what's really going on outside of the atmosphere. So I knew that was real because I could see it. I could knock it down like dominoes and it all started connecting a bunch of dots. So I knew that I was connected to ancient Egypt. I knew there was a strong pull, like I could remember it, like my memory. Because when we're born and we sign up to come here, side note, we sign up to come here in this reincarnation, we sign up for our mission. And we get a mission by our soul, how advanced our soul is, and what karma that we have. So I knew that so I would dig a little deeper. So I could just watch a little bit of Ancient Aliens and I had it all figured out. Like I knew exactly. It was like, whoa, I knew exactly what it was all about. I started doing more research about more things, and I come from the Lyrians, Lyra constellation. My soul does. And I'm not going to give deep details, but if you'd like to look up Starseeds and look up the Lyrians. But there was a big galactic war that went on, because you have to remember there's polarity in everything. There, to have good, you have to have bad. To have dark, you have to have light. To have north, you have to have west. You have to have polarities in everything. It's a balance. Outside of this atmosphere, the world doesn't revolve like the galaxy doesn't. There's so much more than just Earth. We have been seeded by our ancestors. So the story doesn't begin with Adam and Eve. It goes way back before that. Way back. That's just what was documented. So I could remember where my soul came from. So there was a galactic war. The Lyrans had to, from the dark entities, came in and want to take over. So they had to go to different star systems, and I went to Sirius, and then I went to the Pleiades, and the Pleiades seeded Earth, helped seeded Earth, helped seed Earth. But my soul went back further than that, so I started waking up to all of this. And my mind's just like, and it's all connecting dots and it's all making sense. And if you take a little bit of the truth in everything that you hear, because there's truth and lies in everything. And so I started breaking it all down. Well, I knew that I was from ancient Egypt. I knew my soul had been there before. I knew that I was a part of that. And I was very connected to Dandria. Like, I remember that being built. I remember it being for my soul, for an essence of who I am. And I was at home. There's probably a million lifetimes I do not remember. Those are the ones that I do, and being in Atlantis and Lemuria, and high priestess, and then ancient Egypt, and then how many more lifetimes that I had until I've made it to this one. I remember one as an Indian girl who had this real big Indian guy who always protected me. And for most of you, some of you, that's not going to make sense at all. But I guess what needs to be told is that there are so many things that you can't see if you're not looking with your third eye. I am not crazy. There are so many others like me. And there are so many more of you out there. We are here, whether it be Lightworker Starseed, I am both. I am all essence of love. That's why I really don't like labels, but it's easier to explain things when you're trying to give it a label when you don't understand what it is. But anyway, the whole purpose of us being here right now is to stop this planet from destroying itself. Because what happens on Earth will affect the whole galaxy. But there are beings, and there are other races, if you want to call them aliens, so be it. Or we're aliens to them. There are good and bad, just like there is in everything. So there is going to be, this is a divine time. the energies in the age of Aquarius, and Jesus was born in the age of Pisces, which is disillusionment and believing in anyone else but believing in yourself. When to get out, you always have to go in. That makes sense. To see the truth, you have to want to see the truth. Just think about it. Our governmental system, how it works. Sex trafficking, what they're doing to children. Because if they get them and torture them, they produce things in their blood that the diabolical ones can use to keep power with dark magic. There's a reason behind everything. Don't stop at just one answer. Look deeper, because it's there. I promise. I mean, it's most people who are still, because we're being divided right now. We're being divided so that light will reign and fakeness will fall off. The fakeness of this reality is going away. And if you look around you, you can see it everywhere. You see it everywhere. It's, which brings, as open yourself up for more knowledge. Because if people are going to have such a hard time accepting some of these things, but see, we're all timed to wake up at a certain time. We knew coming in that there would be different things that would awaken us along the way, and certain things that had to happen to play out. And that is what has happened. Whether that be a show that I watched, whether that be God when I was 8, whether that be trauma and learning to heal myself when I almost died, to know that I had that power, or the power to heal others. I found that power only through love, not for selfish needs, because I can do nothing if it has anything to do with selfishness. That is a very big balance for me, because to have the light, you have to have the dark. And the more light that you have, the more dark you can have too. So I have to be balanced, because I choose to live in love. It's who I started out being very little, and it's who I found I am now. And this is going to sound, a little off the wall to some of you, and that's fine. That's fine. There's plenty that know exactly what I'm talking about. And if something that I said awakens something in you, look to that deeper. Maybe there's a reason. Not everyone's here to be a light worker, but as the first wave has already woken up and is trying to wake up more, the more love is being spread. The 144,000 light workers to wake up at a frequency was to create second waves, third waves of more people. That wasn't the final total. We need to come back to oneness. I mean, there are so many things that I could try to explain in a million different ways, but and I probably will eventually. So much has been hidden from the human race, guys. A lot of truths and a lot of lies. And people are starting to wake up to those lies all the time. It's collapsing. As more people share their truth, as more people wake up, it's slowly collapsing. And the meek shall inherit the earth. I don't know if this made any sense, and I'm going to have to rewatch it because I started out channeling and I'm not sure why it's time to maybe get this video out. I don't know if it'll ever go out, honestly. We'll see. Just look deeper. You don't have to accept the things that I've told you. I'm just trying to explain a little bit more how I know who I am. And there's probably a million different things that I have not said. In the other videos I talked about having to go through pain. And that's a big part of it. And that's another part of my journey that we will get into on another time. But don't be scared. Don't be scared of learning something new. Because there's good and bad in everything. And there are light workers and there are dark workers. And you have to have both. And you have to find out who yourself. There are humans that really have no soul. They're here to handle and destroy. They have no soul. They're walk-ins. And that could go a lot deeper, and I'll get into all of that. All of that. But if you got to the end of this, thank you. And if you don't understand any of this, that's fine. I'm not worried about being crazy to anyone because I see you. So I hope you guys have a beautiful Wednesday, and I hope to talk to you soon.